Hey everybody, it's Movie Buff Beth of the Movie Buff Pains, and I'm back again with another video. Today's going to be kind of a recommendation video. I'm going to sit down and show you some of my favorite rom-coms and romance films in honor of Valentine's Day coming up in a couple days. Most of the ones I'm going to talk about I feel like are pretty underrated or underseen, ones that don't get talked about as much. A couple of them I just had to include them because I couldn't have a romance recommendation video without them. And then I'll have my number one recommendation for what you guys should watch this Valentine's Day at the end of the video. I hope you enjoy this video. It's something kind of different, a way for me to showcase a genre that I don't talk about as often, but I do love myself a good rom-com or romance flick. And I know not everybody loves Valentine's Day, but I feel like most people can sit down and enjoy a rom-com on occasion. So the first movie I'm going to talk about came out in 2013, and that is What If. I saw this one in theaters, didn't know much about it going into it, but was really pleasantly surprised. It stars Zoe Kazan and Daniel Radcliffe. It has to be one of my favorite romantic comedies of the last decade. This one is just so much fun. There's a few like laugh out loud moments in there. Really great chemistry between our two leads. It's one of those movies where the whole time you're just rooting for them to end up together and hoping that that's the way it'll work out in the end. But there's a lot of really fun antics that go on leading up to that. You also have a really good supporting cast, including Megan Park, Adam Driver, and Mackenzie Davis. So can't do much better than that. If you're looking for a rom-com that will really make you laugh, and maybe not quite as cheesy or focused on the love as some other rom-coms, this one will definitely be up your alley. It's a bit more cynical, which I always do appreciate, but yeah, this one is a lot of fun. Definitely recommend it. The next movie I'm going to talk about is from 2012, and it is called The First Time. Real quick, I believe this is a German Blu-ray. It's not available on Blu-ray in the US, but I will link the DVD below. This movie stars Dylan O'Brien and Britt Robertson. I would recommend this one if you're looking more for a teen romance film. I really like teen and coming-of-age movies. Even as I get older, I still like them just as much as I did when I was a teen. This one's not talked about nearly enough. I think it's a pretty cute teen one. You know, nothing groundbreaking, of course. I feel like it's kind of hard to be groundbreaking in the rom-com genre often, but I feel like this is a really well done romance that involves teens. So if that's what you're looking for, I would definitely recommend The First Time. Next movie I'm going to talk about, I think I've mentioned a few times on the channel before. It's one of my favorites of recent years. Really surprised me. I feel like when I saw the trailer, I knew I was going to like it, but I loved it even more than I thought I would. It's 2019's Longshot, starring Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. First thing, Charlize has some great comedic chops. I have never seen her in just a straight up comedy before. I've seen her in kind of like dramedies like young adult, but I hadn't really seen her go full on the comedy, and let me say she did a great job. Initially when I heard about this movie, I was like, Charlize and Seth and a rom-com? I don't know about those two, but they had a surprising amount of chemistry and were just really hilarious together. And this ends up being a really heartwarming and cute rom-com. I feel like Seth Rogen's a lot more charming than he ever is in any role I've ever seen him in this movie. And again, there's some really fun laugh out loud moments.
We both have to deal with my boss, and we both think he's an asshole.
You also think he's an asshole?
Oh my god, he's such an asshole. His stupid fucking TV show was like good for 3 episodes and then it just didn't make any sense.
But yeah, one of those fun comedies that takes an unlikely pair and really makes you fall in love with them together. And yeah, I love this movie so much. I own 2 copies of it, so this is the US Blu-ray that you can purchase. Then I also got the Nova Media edition from Korea. I just love this movie so much. Andrew actually surprised me with this one as a gift. But definitely recommend Longshot. If you like those 2 actors, you will not be disappointed. This next movie I feel like was probably more popular in the UK than it was in the US. But I remember being interested in it because I like the 2 leads, so I checked it out. And that is 2014's Love, Rosie. This of course is the UK Blu-ray release. It's available on DVD in the US, but still definitely worth seeking out. It stars Lily Collins and Sam Claflin, who you may know from The Hunger Games. But yeah, I really like these 2. This is another movie kind of like What If, where you have 2 main characters who are really just friends, but you're really rooting for them to be more than that throughout the movie. And this takes place over several years of their life, so lots of frustration and hoping that they'll get together throughout. But it's a very, very cute rom-com. one that does not get talked about enough. Definitely recommend this one. Speaking of more cynical rom-coms, my next choice is from 2014, and that's Obvious Child, starring the great Jenny Slate, who is one of my favorite comedians, favorite actresses. I think that she's great in everything. And it also stars Jake Lacy, who I think is an underrated actor. Every time I see him show up in things, I'm usually excited. But yeah, Obvious Child, definitely more on the cynical realm. It deals with subject matter such as abortion, but still is very cute. Great chemistry between the two leads, and I would definitely recommend it if you like more cynical, not your typical run-of-the-mill rom-coms. We actually bought this one on our honeymoon and watched it on our honeymoon, which was kind of a funny one to throw on, but it ended up being really cute and worked out because it was a really cute rom-com. On the back it says one of the most startlingly honest romantic comedies, and I would definitely agree with that. And again, if you're looking for something different, definitely check out Obvious Child. I really like the director of Obvious Child. Her name is Gillian Robespierre. I'd also really recommend her other film, Landline, if you guys are looking for a good film to watch. Another fairly recent one here, this is from 2019, and it's called Plus One. This one went pretty under the radar. It was released by RLJE Films in the US. It kind of just popped up in stores. I picked it up and checked it out and really enjoyed it. You got Jack Quaid, who you might know from The Boys on Amazon. He's Dennis Quaid's son. But this is one of those kind of indie, quirky, fun-feeling comedies. Another one where they're friends and you're rooting for them to end up together. But yeah, this one's really cute. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for one. It has a little bit more of that independent feel to it. Next movie is a little bit older. It's from 2009, and that's Paper Heart, starring Charlene Yi and Michael Cera. This one's pretty different because these two star as kind of fictionalized versions of themselves, and they're kind of trying to understand what love is all about, so they decide to go across the country and interview people about it. This one, again, has a really independent feel. Of course, it's shot to look like they are filming a documentary, so it's very low budget looking, but that's not a knock on it at all. I feel like sometimes that's just what I'm in the mood for, something more low budget, independent feeling, and this one definitely hits all the right marks. Has a lot of really cute, heartwarming moments, one that definitely doesn't get talked about enough. Really enjoyed this one. This next one is from 2014. It's called Two Night Stand. It stars Annalee Tipton and Miles Teller, who is a great actor, star of one of my favorite films, Whiplash. First of all, this is the Canadian Blu-ray, another one that's not available on Blu-ray in the US, but I do believe it's available on DVD. This one I would recommend if you're looking more for kind of a raunchy type sex comedy rom-com. Basically, they have an extremely regrettable one-night stand, and they wake up to a snowstorm and are stuck together, and kind of some fun, silly things ensue afterwards. Again, not a groundbreaking film by any means, but two very charming leads and kind of a fun scenario to throw our characters in. Again, it's a little more of a raunchier comedy, but a lot of fun. Another one that I think I've mentioned on the channel before, but it's well worth mentioning again, and that's 2015's Man Up. This stars Simon Pegg and Lake Bell, two of my favorite actors, and these two have some really surprising, great chemistry together. So basically, Simon Pegg's character is set up on a blind date, and he mistakenly takes Lake Bell to be that date that he's supposed to be meeting, and she kind of just goes along with it, and this is basically what happens that evening as they start to actually kind of like each other, even though they're not even supposed to be on a date together. Lake Bell has a British accent in this movie, and I feel like a lot of the times Americans have a difficult time with doing a British accent, but she does a pretty decent job, pretty believable. I feel like if you didn't know who she was, you might actually believe that she was British, so does a pretty good job there. But this is a really cute, fun rom-com, some really funny moments, great chemistry between the two leads. Definitely recommend this one. This one's a lot more serious than the others that I've been talking about. Definitely has a lot more serious of a tone, but I always like to mention this one because I feel like it's a very real feeling relationship. They have flaws, they make mistakes, and it just feels like it could be a real relationship. And this one's actually based on a novel, and that is 2013's The Spectacular Now. This stars Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. I feel like a lot of people talked about this movie when it first came out. Kind of came out when these two were really beginning to be popular with the release of Divergent, but then it kind of just fell off everyone's radar. But this is a really well done film. It kind of shows a teenage relationship in the ways that it actually kind of really does go down a lot of the time. I mean, They're not always these bubblegummy, happy relationships. Teenagers, they come from families that provide difficulties. They come with their own baggage, even though they're young. And this movie kind of shows a relationship between two young teens blossoming, and kind of how there can be some struggle and some harm in these types of relationships. It also has a really good supporting cast. You've got Kyle Chandler, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Brie Larson in one of her earlier roles. I just feel like everyone's really great in this movie. So if you're looking for a more serious tone romance film where things don't always go the right way, I definitely recommend this film, and the book is good as well. I will say they did change the ending for the movie though, and you'll probably be happier with the way the movie ends. But yeah, it's a great film, definitely recommend this one. Next up we have 2012's Ruby Sparks. This stars Zoe Kazan and Paul Dano. I especially like this one because they are a real life couple, so added cute value to that. But this movie is very unique. It has kind of a fantasy element to it that I really like. Basically, Paul Dano's character is a writer, and he's really kind of stuck. But he writes this character named Ruby, who would pretty much be his dream girl. And one morning he wakes up and this character that he's created is sitting on his couch. So that's kind of the premise of it. It's a very unique premise for a rom-com. Has kind of some fantasy elements, like I said. Really enjoyable film. Not one that gets talked about enough. Before I get to my number one recommendation, these next few are probably my favorite romance films of all time. They may be talked about a little bit more than some of the others. This first one though, I still feel like it's underseen. I feel like not enough people talk about this one, and that's 2013's About Time. This stars Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson. Really cute film, another one that has a fantasy element to it. Basically, Domhnall Gleeson is told by his father that all of the men in his family are able to travel through time. And this movie kind of follows him dealing with this new information, and also a blossoming relationship with Rachel McAdams' character. It sounds like it could be kind of corny, but trust me when I say this, that this is one of the most emotionally profound romance films that I've ever seen. It really makes you take a look at your life and what you value. I always love movies that are, introspective and make you do that. It's just so well written. Just one that does not get talked about enough. Andrew and I saw this early on in our relationship, kind of when we were falling in love, so in that way it's special to us. And also, side note, this is like the first new release Blu-ray that I purchased. Kind of threw me down the rabbit hole, so yeah, About Time, definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. Sorry, I'm realizing now that most of these are fairly recent romance films, sorry about that, but I guess a lot of these were just on my mind more than older ones. But this next one is from 1994, the year that I was born, and that is 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Hugh Grant, the king of romantic comedies back in the day, but this one is probably my favorite with him. I watched this movie far too late in life. I wish I had seen it years before, but the day that I watched it, I loved it so much. I watched it by myself, and I called Andrew and told him, you have to watch this movie when I'm at work, and he threw it on while I was at work, and he loved it just as much as I did. Really hilarious movie, great writing as well. Just love this film, and if for some reason you guys haven't seen it and you've been putting it off for far too long like I did, stop what you're doing now and watch it. And there was just no way I could make a video like this about romance films without including this great film from 1989, and that's When Harry Met Sally, starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. I really think that this is like the ultimate romantic comedy. So many great one-liners, so many memorable scenes. Again, great chemistry between our two leads. Just overall fantastic romantic comedy, probably my favorite and the best in my opinion. But if you guys haven't seen this for some reason, definitely watch it. And I know I've recommended a bunch of movies that are available on Blu-ray, so real quickly I wanted to recommend 2 that are available on streaming right now for you guys to check out. First one is 2018 Set It Up. This is available on Netflix. This movie stars Zoe Dutch, Glenn Powell, Lucy Liu, and Taye Diggs. This one really came as a surprise. I feel like a lot of the romance films that they throw on Netflix are not great, but this one's definitely an exception. A really solid rom-com if you guys are looking for something to watch on Netflix. And then this next movie is available on Hulu. It's actually one of my favorites of 2020, and that is Palm Springs. This stars Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti, as well as J.K. Simmons, who's amazing. But this is another one that kind of mixes romance with a fantasy element. I feel like those two genres actually work really well together. This one's kind of a play on the Groundhog Day type scenario, in which our main character is reliving the same day over and over again. He's stuck in a time loop, but somehow Kristen Milioti's character gets thrown into the same time loop and they're stuck in it together. So of course that creates for some fun romantic situations. But yeah, this one's well worth your time if you guys are looking for something to watch on Hulu. And I've mentioned this movie a few times on the channel, but I've been really wanting to dedicate some time to it because I loved it so much. So my number one recommendation for you guys to check out on Valentine's Day 2021 is 2020's The Broken Hearts Gallery. I know I've mentioned it before, but I really, really love this movie. I saw it in theaters, and then I watched it the moment that I had the Blu-ray in my hands. Just such a great rom-com. So this is not a movie that stars a lot of big names. You got pretty much a lot of supporting actors and more leading roles in this movie, but they are all so very good in this film. It's also directed by a woman, which is awesome. I feel like women don't direct rom-coms very much, which is kind of funny because, you know, everybody thinks that rom-coms are chick flicks. There are several reasons why I love this movie. First of all, there's just undeniable chemistry between the cast members. They're all very believable as actual real-life friends, which I feel like there's a lot of romantic comedies where these side characters, you just don't actually believe that they would even know each other just because they want to get these you know, trope-like cliched characters in there to help balance the cast. And I feel like the supporting characters in this movie were actually really interesting and developed and fleshed out, and definitely were not like the typical cliche type characters that you see in rom-coms. And all of the characters were really likable. Each character, you just had something that you liked about them, so every time they were on screen you were excited. I also feel like this movie was really sex and body positive. You didn't just have one body type or body figure in the movie. It was very inclusive. There was a lot of different representation present in the film, which I really liked. And I feel like this movie is just a great example of female empowerment. A lot of the times in rom-coms you get women that are just kind of like, help me, save me, looking for a male character. But the women in this movie were independent and they had strong personalities, they made mistakes, they weren't perfect, they were very real women, which I liked a lot, and I'd like to see more in romantic comedies in the future. But yeah, Broken Hearts Gallery, a great romantic comedy, one of the best that I've seen in the last 10 years. I know I've said that about several of these, but if you guys haven't seen it, I really would like you guys to check it out. So look down below, I'll link all of these discs and where you can buy them. Yeah, just a great movie, great one to sit down and watch either by yourself or with your significant other this Valentine's Day. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell to get notifications to hear when we upload new videos, and I will see you guys on the next one.